Welcome to the podcast, Fixin Your Crown Boo. It's a podcast interview with the dopest people that I know in leadership who use the models of servant leadership and who are driven by emotionally intelligent leadership. They are passionate about lifting up others and empowering their success because the reality is the table is big enough. The pie is big enough for all of us, and we can find a seat at the table. And the more we help others, the more we increase the size of that pie. Today, I want to welcome my good friend, Asiedu-Akrofi. She is the Chief Executive Office for a Canadian charity focused on gender equality and youth leadership. How darn cool. Some of her key accomplishments, she's taken the leap from an established charity to lead two small but mighty grassroots charities. This is something she's really professionally passionate about, is gender equality, especially around Black and racialized women. Some of the things that she is super passionate about personally are travel and learning about diverse cultures. She is a dedicated advocate for women and girls. She is committed to addressing gender-based inequalities. She holds a degree in political science and sociology from the University of Toronto and has over 10 years of experience working in the charitable sector. Currently, Emma serves as the Chief Executive Officer for Fora. It's a network for change. As a Black Canadian woman of Ghanaian descent, Emma's work is deeply rooted in the intersectional, anti-oppressive, and inclusive framework. She recognizes the importance of acknowledging and addressing the intersecting forms of discrimination as well as oppression. And this is what individuals face. Emma's committed to creating an inclusive and equitable society for all. Emma's passion lies in creating opportunities for underserved groups to access the resources and support that they need to reach their full potential. Whether advocating for gender equality, empowering marginalized communities, or championing social justice, Emma remains unwavering in her personal and professional commitment to this cause. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you for that introduction. Happy to be here. Happy to connect with you always, JD.
Yes, it's been a really long time. I thank you for making the time. I just want to add on, is there anything you want to add on about introducing yourself?
I think you covered it. It's really, when I hear my bio, it makes me feel proud that I've been able to accomplish so much through not only through my efforts, really it's around the community that has supported me. As we know, it's never just us doing this work and moving through these career channels. I've really had a lot of great mentors and supporters and friends who have helped me along my path to get to where I am. I always like to shout them out and acknowledge them as well.
Absolutely. We are nothing but our foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
People that allowed us to stand on their backs or on their shoulders to move to the next step. They are so key and critical in helping us move forward.
100%.
I always want to mention, we were talking about this earlier, which is how amazing it is, your journey to get to where you are right now. I remember your job before I left for the US, and then you started working for Jean Augustine Center. And it just seems like that blew up, totally took off and took you to this new direction.
Yeah, it has been a journey. I always tell I condense my life story into 2 minutes where I say, went to university, thought I was going to be a lawyer, got into this not a charity, established the YMCA, everyone knows that, but knew that I wanted more. I had some other jobs in between working at that charity and really knew that I wanted to be in community and especially wanted to support women and women of color and girls of color. And so I had to take some leaps of faith. I had to leave the charity that was established to go to this small little grassroots charity called the Jean Augustine Center that is full of potential, but is very grassroots. When I was there, I was like an employee of one and really was able to support the charity and be into growing. It's still a very small charity. They're up to about 10, but we were able to establish a really strong, solid community organization. And then when I knew it was time to leave after 7 years, I took another leap of faith. And now I'm at Fora Network for Change. So my life has been about a lot of leaps of faith and trusting God and trusting my people and trusting myself. And it's been good.
No, you really have done well for yourself. I don't know when I left Canada, if I would have thought that this is the direction you were going to go in. I think maybe you had just decided that you were going to leave the job you were doing at the YMCA and then start working at Jean Augustine Center. Wow, congrats. It's been a crazy, amazing journey for you.
Thank you. It's exciting. I'm happy. I'm very happy and blessed of where I am now. And I'm excited to see what I have in store for the next 10 years in my career.
Wow. Can you imagine this is the start of the next 10 years? Because
Is
you
it?
just joined Fora, right?
I did. I joined last November. So I just hit my 1 year anniversary, and it's a learning curve. Leaving any organization and going to another one, even as a leader, you're still learning, right? When I went to the Ghanaian Center, that was my first time in like true leadership as we define it, an executive director or CEO or managerial position. Because I'd always been middle management, but not a people manager, not responsible for the whole operations. So I had a significant learning curve when I went to the Ghanaian Center. I had to learn to read financials. I had to do budgeting. I had to learn about HR, like things that I don't know about these policies. How do I know if all of that stuff, right? So there was a lot of Googling, a lot of reading, a lot of asking people and finding the mentors. And so when I left I call it JAC, it's Gene Augustine Center, but JAC. So when I left JAC to come to Fora, it was another learning curve because even though both organizations work within the gender equity space, Fora is distinctly about advocacy and also works with the older demographic. So it was a different language that I've had to learn in terms of the feminist language and the advocacy language, and the lens with we view things through has shifted a bit. So I'm still learning, still growing. I'm always one to say, I don't know the answer, but I'll come back to you if I don't know. And it's put me in a position of vulnerability, but I'm very much open to that. I'm open to saying, I don't know all the answers. I don't have them, but I'm willing to learn.
I don't know who said the quote, but I truly believe this is that the day you stop learning is the day you die. Learning is so key to keeping you critical, keeping you sharp, and just being, you're saying, vulnerable to admit when you don't know things, because none of us are an encyclopedia, so no one knows everything.
Definitely not. I like that quote, though. I'm going to use that.
I have a few, but that's definitely one of my favorites. Talking about favorite quotes, you were telling me that, and I think this really ties into your whole journey, about your favorite quote being, the only way out is through. You want to tell me a little bit more about why this speaks to you?
Oh my goodness. I think that applies to so many areas of my life, like both personal and professional, because we all go through challenging times. And I think for me, again, in a spirit of vulnerability, when I was at the Gene Augustine Center during the peak of the pandemic, it hit us like it's hit everyone, where people were losing jobs, we lost funding. So I had to lay off a bunch of staff. I became a staff of one, and I was working all around the clock, and I burnt myself out. Like literally woke up one day and was like, what is happening? My body was like, the anxiety was building and I was tired and I couldn't think. And it was so challenging. It was such a challenging time because I'd never before that really experienced anxiety in that way. So I didn't even understand what was happening to me and recognize that this is burnout. All these things are building up. And so it was a very challenging time. I took a month off of work. And I had to do the healing. Like I went to therapy. I spent my days taking walks and being mindful and praying and meditating and being around family. I moved back in with my dad for a month just because it was a pandemic. So we were all isolated, but I lived by myself. So I wanted to be around my family. So I moved back in with my dad. And during that time, some nights weren't easy when you're trying to heal yourself. And I remind myself the only way out is through. You have to push through to get to the other side. So that applies personally, and it also applies professionally as well. Like when you're at work and you're experiencing challenge, if you hit a wall or there's any issues with coworkers or peers, you have to talk it out. You have to go through it to get to the other side. And hopefully there's a lesson that you can take from there.
Yeah, the pandemic threw, I think, a lot of people for a loop. And I can only imagine, I moved out to live 3,000 miles away from my family. And so being in this pandemic and being nowhere near my family, which was a blessing and a curse, I can understand how that just totally added a whole new dynamic to the working situation. And it's incredible that you went from building an organization that was just you, and you built it and you had 10 people, and then the stress of, I've been laid off 3 times. I've never laid anybody off, but I have seen that stress on both sides in the sense of being a survivor, which you were. And then I can only imagine duplicating that to being the person who has to make that layoff, because I feel nonprofit that I've worked with, that there is just such a bond typically amongst the people that you work with at this nonprofit. It's a labor of love in so many ways.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. When you have to promise them, you have to explain the situation, which they're aware. They're very highly intelligent people, so they understand what's happening. But still, to tell someone, we have to let you go. We don't know when we can bring you back. We don't know if we can bring you back. When these people have families and they have mortgages and they have rent to pay and all these things, and there's so much uncertainty. As you said, not only for myself, but for the people that I feel somewhat responsible from a work perspective. So really hard time, but it also gave me hope and faith in the world again. Because sometimes you can lose that when you see all the chaos that's going around, because during that time I had so many people who like volunteered to support in a work capacity, right? Like my board stepped in and were doing actively participating. It was a working board. They were doing things. I had volunteers that were running programs for free. And although it was really challenging and lots of moments of uncertainty, it also was inspiring to see what people are willing to do when they believe in a cause and come together.
Yeah, I think prior to leaving Canada, I had worked in nothing but corporate jobs. And my very first job out of grad school in San Francisco was for a health plan. So I'd never worked for they're not fully a nonprofit, but they call themselves a quasi nonprofit because they are government funded, and then they get some other funding and fundraising and all that fun stuff. That was the first time I worked for a company that I could see when they say that they're all about they call them their members because it was a health plan. They're all about their members, and the mission is making sure they have the best access to medical health care, which you can imagine is a huge thing in the US with all the disparities of healthcare here. But that was the first time I worked for a mission-driven organization that was truly mission-driven. They were actually well-funded and they did really well with the money that they had. They were very careful with it, but how careful of stewards of their money that they were. And the things that when you work for the nonprofit, having worked in corporate, you have these big giant Christmas parties and you get your 10-year anniversary gifts working for corporate. And they're like, yes, so we've got a really small budget because we can't be seen to be spending all this money on our employees. And you were okay with that because the mission was important. So I can totally see how that is a total mindset change, going from working from a corporation to working for a nonprofit and just seeing how people come through for a mission that is driven by people and for people.
100%. The people that work there, the people who are champions of the organizations, the general community, they're really value aligned, right? They really believe in the mission. Their values align with it. And so you find those people are willing to invest a little bit more. It's not just about the monetary donation. They really want to see not only the organization, but the mission advance. And so they roll up their sleeves and they give their time, they give their energy, they give their intellectual property, they give their money, all of those things. And that involves not only the immediate staff, but it extends to the broader network as well.
Yeah, that is definitely inspiring.
Yeah, I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I always say it. I've done corporate a little bit. I did a little stint in corporate. I did an insurance company for a bit. And I'm definitely not knocking it because, as you said, there's pros and cons with the nice benefit packages and all the bonuses and all the parties. But at the end of the day, I love to go to bed knowing that I've connected. I'm advancing something that I'm so passionate about. And that really keeps me going.
Oh, that is really inspiring. I don't know if I'd go to a nonprofit.
Yeah,
Having done both sides.
It's not for everyone.
Having been on both sides of the aisle, I think I can definitely see how it's inspiring and how important it is. Maybe I've just been in corporate for too long. We do love
one of your parties.
We do love them perks. I have to really think about that one, but they're not the end all and be all. And I definitely can remember the energy from working for a nonprofit. I've also done work as a consultant for the school district out here in the K-12 school district. And so they're also considered like they're nonprofit. They're publicly funded. So there's definitely pros and cons. And there's a lot to working in a nonprofit world that I think maybe someone who hasn't worked in that environment doesn't realize how much goes into it on the back end.
Yeah, most definitely. It's not for everybody, but there, as you said, pros and cons to working everywhere. But for those who are in it, Yeah, I think we're just driven to, and we just gravitate to this world, this sector. The most of the people that I know within the sector, if they're leaving one organization, it's to go to another charity. They're not like crossing over to government, and sometimes government, but not the corporate side of things, because it's just a different mindset and a lens with which we view work in the world.
Oh, 100%. It really is a very different mindset. But thinking about that, I want to start with asking you, because we're talking about the inspiration and you moving through to become a leader in charitable organizations. What would you say is your most defining moment in your career?
Most defining moment, I would say. So last weekend, I went back to the Jean Augustine Center for their Christmas holiday party. And it's been a year since I left. And I walked in and I saw the girls so Jean Augustine Center, to give a little summary, it's a community organization that empowers girls between the ages of 7 to 17 through after-school programs, through other education initiatives, all these things. They do amazing work, a very established organization in its own right. And so when I went back to this holiday party, I walked in and I saw girls there who are now teenagers, who are graduating high school, who are driving, who have their first jobs. And these are girls I knew from when they were 7, 8, and 9 years old. And just to be as excited to see them as they are to see me and to hear about their accomplishments. One of them just got a job at McDonald's. One of them just got her G1. One of them is graduating from high school. And just to know that it was just a fraction of a part of that experience for her. Just to even have been able to have the opportunity to be a little bit a part of their journey is a blessing. And that's the reason I do the work I do, really. It's because it's not about there's no glamour in nonprofit, as many of us know, but knowing that we're helping to shape the lives and the experiences of the young women that I work with is really why I do that. And so that's like the moment that stands out the most to me.
Oh, that's really beautiful. As an auntie to recently, I won't say recently, but actually she's about to be 19 in a few months.
What?
To a niece. I know. Isn't it crazy? As an auntie, watching her journey, being even a small part of the people that she will confide in. She was deciding to go to college. She was like, Auntie, let's talk. I want to talk about how to do this. And can you help me with my papers? And now she's actually in university and halfway through her first year. I can definitely understand that feeling because it feels so special to me. Obviously she doesn't live in Canada, so it's not like I was with her all the time, but it's very special to be a part of her journey in whatever way that I can to support her and the amazing young woman that she's become. So I can only imagine draw that parallel about how that feels like with the dozens, maybe the hundreds of young women that you touched their lives and helped them out in a critical point.
Yeah, thank you. I remember meeting your niece. I think you brought her to one of the summer festivals in Toronto, and I saw the bond that you two had even then. And I know you've always spoken so highly of both your niece and nephew and your whole family. So to know, first of all, kudos to you and your niece for maintaining that relationship, and just, it's exciting. It's exciting to see. I feel old when I say, but it's exciting to see these young people grow and thrive and excel. And you just want so much for them, even if they're related or not. And they all have so much potential. So to be part of any way to support that potential is a blessing.
Absolutely. She wants to change the world herself. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see her journey. Yeah, she was sustainability and theater. Those are her two favorite.
I love it.
I know it's incredible watching young people grow and go from when they're babbling to actually being able to articulate their thoughts and their problems and their feelings. It's so beautiful. I'm so inspired from your journey and the things that you've accomplished. It's truly amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So as we talk about most defining moments, I think the flip side of that is who helps you, who's your foundation, and who has been like one of your biggest cheerleaders?
Oh, I have so many. I'm blessed. I always say that because there's so many people that I consider cheerleaders. One of them being the person that connected us, your friend and my cousin/friend, Emma, who is an amazing, inspiring intellectual, PhD, entrepreneur, all the things. But She has been one of my biggest cheerleaders and also some of my go-to for many things. She's been along the journey with me for so many things in terms of career transition, major decisions, anything. She's always championing me along the way. But that also applies to others. I have so many good cousins and girlfriends like Celestina. I started naming them, so now I feel I have to name them all, right? Or someone's gonna be, what, you missed me. But there's so many that have been the foundation with which I can lean on when I don't know the answer, I don't know what to do, or I just need that extra support. And that also extends to my family, any type of family. My family's Ghanaian, right? So any African, Caribbean, Latino, we know how important family is, right? It's the nucleus of everything. There's always home. I can always go back home, no matter how old I am. Sometimes they're a little too involved and you have to push them back a little bit, right? But knowing that they're there to provide the support is always a blessing. And then also in this journey, my career journey, I've been able to connect with a lot of Black women who are executive directors and CEOs, and to have that ability to share experiences, because sometimes being an executive director or CEO can be a very isolating position because you can't bring your problems to the board always, especially if it's not a governance or a board related issue. And you can't speak to your staff about everything because you have to maintain that distance in certain regards. So to really be able to connect with other executive directors and CEOs, particularly those of Black women or racialized women, it's something I value. And those relationships are something that are very near and dear to my heart. And I recommend it for anyone. Get yourself a good network of peers who you can really just reach back and chat and connect with.
I did an event, my gosh, I can't even believe how long ago it's been, but maybe 5-6 years ago, and talked about mentorship. And some of the really cool advice the ladies that I had on my panel said that getting yourself a board of directors, your personal board of directors, and your mentors who can be, there's different levels to them, but they can be the sounding board and that advice, especially as you move through the ranks of an organization. The higher you get, what do they say? It's the loneliest number is one, being the captain of any ship of an organization. So having your mentors and your cheerleaders are so key and crucial.
Definitely. And you need people who will call you on your shit, right? Like, when you have a board of directors, they'll tell you when you're doing well, and they'll tell you when you need to get it together. And so I love that would apply to, I'm going to start calling my friends my board of directors, because they will do that. They'll tell me what I'm doing. They'll also course correct me when I need to be course corrected. So I like that.
And I can only imagine that as a leader of an organization, in some ways that you're at the highest levels, right, of an organization. It's who develops your growth and your development, and who, as you're saying, corrects your ship if you don't have those mentors.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things I'm doing at this organization is I'm doing, for the first time ever, doing a 360 interview, which we've just started the process. So I'm working with a coach who's kindly donated, given her time pro bono. And we've discussed my leadership, how I think I've done over the last year, what have I been strong in, what do I need to improve upon? And then after we've done that, she's going to go to my staff, so all 14 of them, and then my board, and ask them those same questions about me. And it's very much a position of vulnerability, but it is professional development at its finest, to be able to hear where you're excelling and where you need to strengthen yourself, or you need to find the tools and resources to improve. So I'm excited to hear the feedback that I get, and I know I'll only use it to improve myself professionally and personally.
Wow, I think performance management, that whole process of how do you manage others, how do you develop the people that you lead, is this area that I'm crazy fascinated about, which is also partly why I'm doing this podcast, is emotional intelligence and servant leadership, and using those tools to be able to make yourself a better person, and at the end, a better leader of yourself and a better leader of others. I think there's something really special and something that really talks about your emotional intelligence, that this is a process that as a leader of an organization, you want to go through to learn for yourself. Because you said it, getting feedback is nerve-wracking, and it's vulnerable, and it's scary, actually. So I think that's really kudos to you for opening up yourself, creating that process, because it's something that's never been done, to be able to improve your own growth and development and impressive emotional intelligence.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really, how do I, as a leader of this organization, have performance management for my team, my staff, and not allow them to do the same? We're all in this ship together, right? We're all trying to grow and succeed and make this organization the best it can be. So if I don't see where my gaps are and my flaws and where I can need to improve, how do we move forward? I'm excited to hear whatever comes with that feedback, and yeah, I'll use it to improve.
No, that's really cool. I think I mentioned that I'm going to go back and do my doctorate starting this fall.
I love it. I'm standing for you.
But the thing that started it all in some ways is, as at our age, we don't need to age ourselves here on camera, but at our age, because it can be found anywhere, I think there comes a point in your professional journey where if you don't have mentors, where you're starting to look for people to help develop you and people who are at a level higher than you who can give you some pointers, right? Just even as directionally. What do you learn? What are the things are you missing? And I had that frustration in my last job where I felt my leader, lovely lady, but I was driving that conversation the whole time. And I was driving development and driving, what do I do? How do I learn? What am I missing? And having to push that conversation. And that really started the wheels turning around. Leaders, what I've found is especially new and emerging leaders, they become managers because they were good at their job. They were good at doing this thing, not necessarily because they were good leaders or managers of people. And so that's what my thesis is about, is how do we create better relationships? How do we create the psychological safety that you've created within your organization, that your organization will tell you what they're thinking and will give you critical feedback. And that requires the concept of psychological safety, right? Because in a lot of places, people are afraid to say what they think because it doesn't go well for them.
Yeah, 100%. Like, psychological safety is everything. And that's when we were thinking of the approach to take with this 360 interviews. At first it was, do you want to pick a handful of people for them to give feedback in terms of your performance? And I thought about that and I was like, no, because I want to make sure that they feel as safe and as comfortable to do this. So if everyone knows that everyone is giving feedback and no one will have to stand out in terms of who said what, then I'm hoping it'll make it that much more easier for them to be completely honest about how they're feeling. Because I want to know, I need to know, because if I don't know, I'm doing a disservice to not only them, but to the organization and to myself. So it's really important. It's like, how do we create the environment for people to thrive and to be able to be honest and transparent about their experience? It's not a perfect science. Like, there's room for improvement. So I can't wait to read your thesis and I will just consume it all and apply to my leadership styles. But I'm trying my best to create that environment.
Kudos to you. I think that's the first step, right? Is recognizing that you're not perfect and being willing to hear what people think. My personal belief is that all feedback, even the worst feedback, is so important, because whether or not it was intentional, whether or not they understood it, whether it's the context of it, I think that there's always some grain of truth in every feedback that you get. And you can learn from, maybe it was perception. We, as human beings, we can't read each other's minds. So when we say or do things, or even our body language, we're not always aware of some of those things. They can give off a perception that other people internalize of you. And so when they give you feedback, even if it's misguided, even if it's malicious, they've honed in on something about your presentation in that moment or your interactions that has a grain of truth to it. And so being able to take that with that grain of salt and learn from it, that is like one of the biggest foundational pieces of creating psychological safety.
100%. And I think I always joke around, like, it's all over social media. You'll say like the millennial manager or the younger Gen X. I feel like this demographic, this generation of leaders and managers, we're doing it differently, because we experienced the baby boomers and the older Gen X and their leadership style, and how it was isolating, and how didn't feel like it was a collaborative experience, and how they didn't take in the whole person into consideration. You were just a number. You were just there to advance a cause, even within the nonprofit sector at the time. I'm speaking blanketly, of course, and I feel we want to do it differently. We really see people as full people with full lives outside of work. And it's important to factor that into any type of performance or deliverable or roles or responsibilities. You have to see the whole person and you have to understand where they're coming from. It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I geek out and nerd out about is leadership materials and leadership theories and frameworks. And that's part of your MBA. Your leadership course will talk you through different leadership theories, right? There's the pyramid theory. There's a whole bunch. I can never remember them off the top of my head. But what I think is really fascinating and why I bring this up is that leadership as a studied field, frameworks and references and tools, it has watched the evolution of, I think they say that Henry T. Ford, the creator of the Ford automobiles, when he started doing mass producing things and creating this assembly line of doing things, it created connections that people, if you do this one very tiny, boring, repetitive thing over and over, you can create productivity and efficiencies. And how do you manage people through that? And that created bodies of work on the theories of looking back at what that mass assembly line of creating things actually created from a management and a leadership perspective. So it's really fascinating to see that as we move into this new generation of leaders, fascinating to see how these different generations are leading and thinking about things. And then adding on top of that, how COVID has actually changed how people interact and their ability, I think Generation Alpha's ability to socialize and interact and work. How this societal, literally global phenomenon has changed a generation of kids.
Yeah, it's again going back to the Genealogy Center. I saw it firsthand, right? Because at the time we worked with those 7 to 17, so I saw them pre-pandemic, and although there's still that little awkward phase, no matter pre or post-pandemic, when they get to 13, 14, when they're more into their friends and their phones. But I really did see the shift, pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, where we'd be at the kitchen table because it was a community organization, and everyone would be heads down on their phones. No one knew how to interact with each other anymore. Kids were struggling. It still is, still rearing its ugly head, that Gen Alpha who grew up in that age, right? Where they were doing school online. And that was another very big concern of mine at the time, is that some of the kids that were already struggling in school when they were in person now had to go home and pretty much be an independent learner, especially when they came from families that the English wasn't the first language. I can go on a tangent about what the pandemic has done to Gen Alphas and all those, and us in general, people in general. But I do agree that it's shifted the way we view leadership, the way we interact, the way we feel part of the greater good of society.
Yeah, it's crazy how phenomenons that happen to us, how they shift how we operate. I think the Industrial Revolution is one. I don't know what they call the internetization, just make that word. But the advent of the internet and the advent of AI, because they go hand in hand, how that has actually changed generations and how people lead, from going to school to how do you get information for, as a consultant, when there's something I'm like, I don't really know how to phrase this, I'm in this weird situation, I'll just throw it in ChatGPT and be like, what would you do? It has kind of become a brainstorming soundboard. Is it all good? No, it's not all good. But usually it does get me thinking. And so that's interesting, the intersection between age, technology, leadership. I know we can keep going on and on about this, but I'm going to keep us going on our track here. So just thinking about your journey and the things that have been inspiring to you, the next thing I'm interested in is, what has been your biggest struggle as a leader, growing organizations, being a leader of one? What's been your biggest struggle?
So I'll start in general, then I'll move to personal. General, as a leader of a charitable organization, money. It's challenging, and sustainability, right? Knowing that as a leader, you're tasked to have a sustainable organization, not only so that it fulfills its mission, but it also is able to sustain the people that have committed themselves to those jobs, right? It's a big thing to carry day in and day out when you're looking at financials and you need to know, will the organization be around next year or in 2 years or in 5 years? And how do you get there? How do you get the money? And it's a lot to carry. I've had some sleepless nights, I will be honest, thinking about that stuff. So that's a significant challenge. I don't think there's ever a straight answer. Just raise more money. That's really what it is. And if it was that easy, I think we'd all be doing it. And on a more personal level, I think my biggest challenge is imposter syndrome. I think we all, at a time, no matter how old or where we are in our career, we sometimes question, like, am I supposed to be here? Am I qualified enough for this? And it might not be in those words, but sometimes it's just the discomfort of being in the room and where you have to give yourself that little self-talk to be like, no, you're just as qualified, just as good, just as knowledgeable. And you also don't have to communicate in a certain way to prove your worth. Like when I was coming into Fora, again, I said there was very much a shift in the language that Fora uses. They use a very feminist language. They use a very advocacy-based language. It's a very academic language. It's very specific to gender equity and feminism. And so I normally don't talk like that. I'm educated. I think I communicate well, but my language was not that. And so I felt not imposter syndrome, but it was a little bit like hesitation in terms of how to communicate and how to feel like I was effectively sharing the message of Fora and what we do as an organization that really advances youth leadership for young women and gender marginalized youth. So it's something that I still, being a year into the position, I still sometimes question how to do it better. How do I communicate the mission of Fora in a more effective way? I want to represent the organization well, and I also want to represent myself well. So it's an evolving process. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. Yeah, but it's good. It's stretching me.
Wow, that is so interesting. You talked about the very specific language of gender equality. That struck a chord. I took a course once upon a time, one of the many different things I did at York. And I do recall, like, there is definitely a very specific way that when you're talking about gender inequalities, particularly feminine, I guess, disinequalities, how you speak towards that. And so I think that's really interesting that you've been aware that this is a very big shift about how you would speak normally and then how you have to speak about articulating their mission. And the other key piece, which I think you're right, everybody feels that, I feel it all the time, is imposter syndrome. When you're in a room with, especially when you're in a room with like great leaders and people who have done such phenomenal, amazing things, it's like, what did I really do? Should I really, can I even say I'm this leader or this person? As someone who's trying to create a model and move into, I want to do more executive and leadership coaching and helping people create that psychological safety. I have not personally truly led people. I've never been the person for doing performance reviews or doing raises or layoffs. I've always been a more lead through influence as a project manager, as a consultant, because I'm gonna tell you about being a consultant. You really have to really think through how you say things and how you position things. And it's really about leading through influence versus leading through power. So I totally get that. There's times I'm just like, who am I? What am I doing in this room? I don't know if you've ever heard of Afrotech.
Yeah.
This is my second time going to the conference. And as I had mentioned, I was laid off. I was laid off for about 3 months. And so I started thinking about my entrepreneurial journey. What do I want past consulting? Most people do not do consulting as a lifetime job unless you're like at the partner level. From the consultant individual contributor, depends on like the size of the company, but typically either you move into being like a partner or an executive leader or you leave. That's just how consulting rolls because it can be very much a burnout type of profession. So I was like, what happens after consulting? What do I want to do? And so I joined Afrotech. They have this thing called the Insiders Club, and it's really for entrepreneurs and founders or founders to be like me, or entrepreneurs to be. And some of the people that I met through this program, I'm like, dang, wow, I'm just a baby entrepreneur to be. Y'all are leading. I met this guy who's it's called Talk DEI, and it's supply chain in removing bias and adding diversity into supply chain decisions. I was like, dang, supply chain is huge. Okay, you go on. So I met a lot of people like that. So I could totally understand imposter syndrome. I was like, I'm just a baby entrepreneur.
Yeah, but you deserve to be there just as much as they do. Like, definitely, that's what we just have to keep reminding ourselves, that we have created the opportunity and we have navigated the spaces and we deserve to be in those spaces. And you have just as much to contribute as everyone else. That's the positive self-talk I always give myself. And as a side note, I follow the CEO of
Afrotech, Morgan.
Morgan, yeah, I love her content. I think she drops some great gems in terms of leadership and operations and all this stuff. So every time she drops something, she just released a new book as well. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get that because she has some great insight into everything.
I've been to 2 Afrotechs and each one is wow. So to be the founder and the creator of this vision that has turned into the big thing that it is. So it used to be in Oakland and San Francisco before the pandemic. And from what I understand, it was much more scattered, much smaller. And when I went to my first one last year in Austin, wow, what she has accomplished, like the name brand she's able to attract, she has done some impressive things.
Yeah, I love it.
And I would say if you ever get the chance, I know it's Afro tech, but I'm like tech adjacent, but I think just the Black excellence in the room is so inspiring. And the people that you would meet, I would say, even though you're not directly in tech, you use technology, so you're tech adjacent. It could be a very interesting experience for you, just to ideas. Also, like as a nonprofit, I think there's a lot of funding and money that you can drum up for your organization within the sphere. So I would just throw that out there.
Yeah, I'm picking it up and I definitely will. To the point that you're making before is like AI, everyone, it's like you have to get on the bus or you're going to get left behind. So even if you're not fully in the tech space, everyone has tech impacting their work and what they do in their everyday lives as well. It's always a benefit to be in those spaces and to learn what's happening and who's who and what's what. So something next year, if you're going, let me know. I'll book my ticket.
I'll keep you in the loop. I think as a consultant, I've been a consultant in the retail space, in education. Right now I'm doing like logistics and manufacturing. And the shift that I've seen is every company almost is actually a technology company, because every company is technology enabled.
Yeah.
Everything that you do requires, whether that be you have your tech support, you need someone to help do your tech stack so that you can do your productivity and you can track from your accounting through to your payroll is all enabled by technology. And so I've seen that's a really big shift. Even retail giants, like they're building their own software to run their point of sale systems. It's really interesting, this shift that technology has created. Instead of technology being separate from everyone else, everybody is slowly starting to ingest technology as an internal service themselves.
Yeah, 100%. It's exciting. I'm excited to see where it goes. I know it's already helped create efficiencies within my organization, and I want to learn more to see how we can do it better with the use of technology.
Absolutely. Man, we got all these topics and we've only got a short time and my time with you is running out. So I'm like, okay, we got to keep going.
No.
Some other questions that I had, as a leader, what are some of your biggest keys for leading your team or leading any of your projects?
I would say that I am not a subject matter expert. And that's why the individuals that we've hired and that we employ are hired, because they are the talent. They have such innovation. There's innovative and educated, and their skill sets are just so impressive. I can't walk into any space thinking like I have the answers. I know what to do. I really lean into my team to be able to share what they think is the way forward. And sometimes I'll take it at yes, okay, you gave me the answer, let's go, let's move ahead. Or sometimes we'll have to have a conversation about it and we'll come to a happy medium in terms of where I see things going from a holistic, operational, organizational level, and where their subject matter expert area collides with that. So it's a compromise sometimes, but ultimately, all that to say is that I don't have the answers. I was hired as a CEO because I know how to run an organization. I don't know how to be the best comms person. I don't know how to be the best fundraiser or program director or advocacy director. And so that's why these people are there, and they do it very well.
I love that. I feel like it's that, I forget who said this. I'm terrible at remembering who said quotes, but I feel like there's this quote around hire the best people around you and then get out of their way, and just providing the guardrails around their work and keeping, your job is to keep the holistic goals of the organization and ensuring, I love using trains, ensuring that the train of the organization is on the right track, and that when it needs to switch tracks, it's prepared, going at the right speed, has the right number of cars on the train. And that's your role as the leader of the organization. That is so cool. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, 100%.
All right. I know we're running out of time, so I just want to put it out to you and just toss the ball to you. Is there, thinking about this as a podcast, thinking about this as being an opportunity to leave your legacy, your insight, your knowledge, and just drop that mic afterwards, what additional would you love to say that you haven't said yet?
My God, that's a lot of pressure. Like a mic dropping statement. Wow. I don't know if it'll be mic dropping, but just going back to what the podcast is called, like Fixin Your Crown Boo, continue to fix your crown. Like, you're going to have challenges. You're going to hit road bumps. Sometimes you'll thrive and excel, but there will be challenges. There will be forks in the road. So just continue to know that the only way out is through, and you'll have to continue, fix your crown. When you get out through that hard part, fix the crown, recenter yourself, and keep pushing. That's the only thing we can do. And when it gets challenging, another thing I always say to myself is just one foot in front of the other. When you can't see the long vision, when things are cloudy, just keep moving forward. Sometimes it's just about putting one foot in front of the other, and you'll get there.
Nice. I'm going to add to that. Fixing your crown boo isn't just about fixing your own crown. It's about fixing others' crowns. I liken it to that idea of, we've all been in that bathroom at a restaurant, or back in the day when we were hot feet, maybe at that club, at that party, and you've seen a woman who's got her tag sticking out. You can let her go out the bathroom with her tag sticking out, but instead this is the person I am. Tap her on the shoulder, like, ma'am, do you mind your tag is sticking out? Let me just tuck that in for you, because you look flawless, and I want you to continue looking flawless. And I think that's for me where Fixing Your Crown Boo comes from, is that idea of, when you see something askew, you don't just let that person walk away. You give them the opportunity, but you're willing to help them be their best. And you're not worried about, does that outshine you? Is that person better than you? No, it's about, but if we're all our best selves and we help each other be our best selves, this world could be pretty darn amazing.
I love it. You are an inspirational leader, JD. And so thank you for that.
Thank you.
My audience, hope you enjoyed today's session of Fixing Your Crown Boo. You will be able to see us upcoming soon. Thank you very much.